appreciate Wincom having us here today and just being able to talk about monitoring and how it's applicable in the telecom space as well. As Elaine mentioned, yeah, feel free to put your questions into the chat. We'll follow up as we can during the course of the presentation and demo, and then anything that we're not able to get to, we'll cover at the very end. I'm Jason Grinnell. I'm one of the channel sales managers here at Paessler. I work closely with Wincom. Everything we talk about as far as PRTG, you can acquire through Wincom. So reach out to your Wincom rep, ask them about PRTG. You can even copy me in, or if you have any kind of other questions of a different nature, again, I would be your direct point of contact. Miguel Akins, he's one of our pre-sales engineers here, and he'll also be kind of taking us through a demo of PRTG and just showing us some of the telecom specific features. So a little bit about Paessler, the company. We've been around for 25 years. We were founded and are based in Nuremberg, Germany. We're still privately owned, so everything including marketing, tech support, software development, sales, it's all done in-house, nothing's outsourced. Our core office is still in Nuremberg, Germany. Here in North and South America, everyone does work remote, so we're a remote first company outside of Germany, and so tech support, pre-sales, sales, marketing, we're all work remotely. I'm in Greenville, South Carolina, and currently we have about 500,000 users worldwide. So there's multiple areas to kind of look at from a monitoring perspective when it comes to telecom. First being remote sites and facilities. We're going to cover some aspects of PRTG that allows like that remote monitoring for like roadside cabinets, remote sites, cell towers, HVAC systems. In addition to our core competency around IT and network monitoring for anything from VMs, servers, switches, firewall, bandwidth, and then rounded out with coverage of monitoring of applications and services. That can run anything from ERP systems to custom apps, as well as web-hosted services that you might use, like GoToMeeting, Zoom, Office 365. And along that same vein, though, from a monitoring standpoint, you can really monitor anything with an IP address with PRTG, everything from industrial IT, IoT, traditional IT infrastructure, databases, storage, edge devices, applications. It's pretty much limitless as long as one of those systems uses protocols that we work with. We work with everything from SNMP being our primary protocol, WMI, API, JSON. We have protocols we work with that are specific to the industrial IoT and manufacturing sector, as well as healthcare as well. We're the only monitoring company that kind of encapsulates all of that into one product. And traditionally, when it comes to monitoring, each of the different divisions within an organization is pretty siloed. So you have the people that are responsible for maybe like the manufacturing or more of the industrial type stuff, like electrical systems, HVAC, assembly lines. They're probably using their own sets of hardware, software, monitoring tools that are very separate from everyone else. Likewise, the people that are in charge of VMs, servers, switches, firewalls, they're probably using something different from everyone else. And then likewise, down the stack from physical security to storage and backup and DR along the line, and then on down to client devices and such. And the problem there is with lots of large enterprises, there's teams that are working in each of these different silos. But at smaller organizations, there's typically a smaller number of admins, and so they're covering 10 to 15 different vendors, which can be a lot of work. Plus, like trying to use all of those different platforms and monitoring tools to kind of keep track of what's going on. When you have that many different vendors that you're supporting, it can just add on a lot of additional work and stress. That's where PRTG comes in to kind of bring everything into one single pane of glass, so you can see and visualize all of your different IT and OT infrastructure in one place, and then also be alerted by text, Teams, email, Slack, our free mobile app for iOS and Android. All of that is kind of encapsulated within PRTG at one set price. So what does PRTG do? You know, in essence, it's all about remotely monitoring your IT and OT infrastructure, sending out alerts when there are issues, when certain devices and applications enter warning or down states, and then providing like a nice visualization through dashboards, or as we call them, maps, either very technically specific or high-level, executive-level dashboards. And again, same as the protocols I mentioned earlier, we can really work across the stack from IoT, cloud services like AWS, Azure, Zoom, GoToMeeting, monitor network traffic, uptime, ping, NetFlow, SFlow, JFlow, application monitoring, even environmental monitoring. If you have hardware sensors out there to measure temperature, humidity, if there's a fire, all of that can be pulled in through PRTG and alerted by PRTG as well. We have over 400 native sensors out of the box for all the major manufacturers like Microsoft, Cisco, VMware, and we have a really healthy community on GitHub that makes custom sensors as well. For a lot of the vendors you may be using, like Cambium Networks, for instance, you could use like an SNMP sensor to monitor those types of systems. And really, the goal of PRTG is to help organizations save money by preventing unplanned downtime. I saw a recent statistic that said enterprises typically lose $400,000 per hour for each hour of unplanned downtime. And that's what PRTG does. It allows the IT administrators to be kind of like a fire marshal and see issues as they're popping up so they can address them and make sure that they don't become huge fires. And also, conversely, helps them reduce a lot of stress. They're being proactive in their monitoring, so they're not fielding these reactive calls from customers and their boss saying, hey, something's not working, the website's down, I can't get into the ERP system, or the CRM isn't updating. So it really allows them to be on it and working on stuff before they're being brought in by third parties. Talking a little bit about some of the areas that are specific to telecom that you want to be sure you're focused on from a monitoring aspect. Remote sites is a big one. So it's part of our overall protocol, and Miguel will get more into this when it comes to like the architecture and how we're set up. We can easily monitor remote sites, be it a data center, cabinets on the side of the road, communication towers, any kind of like edge or cloud data center. All of that information can be brought into PRTG. Likewise, you probably want to know what's going on with all of your physical security devices, from access control, CCTV cameras, so that you know if they're on or off. If something's detected, you can actually even pull in CCTV camera feeds into custom dashboards that you build along with the DVR status. And like I mentioned before, you can use environmental monitoring sensors, pull all of that information in. A lot of people are aware that use us traditionally for IT infrastructure, but you can also pull a lot of interesting stuff from HVAC and industrial power systems as well. TU UPSs. I think we have native sensors for all the major UPS manufacturers out there, from Eaton to APC. I have a local law office actually I work with that now uses PRTG as part of their overall monitoring stack to also monitor their UPSs, because I think 4 or 5 years ago, one of the UPSs overheated over the weekend and they didn't know about it until they had lost their whole data center. Luckily, they had backups, but it was a big pain that could have been avoided had they been monitoring the UPS. This is the custom dashboard that's kind of been created for our demo environment, and this kind of just shows a schematic of a communication tower site and the sensors that are on all the different types of devices that you might want to monitor, from access control to the fuel tanks, generator, battery. You can see the status of all of those. And typically, and Miguel will talk a little bit more about colors, but you really want to see green. On here, we have an orange one, which is unusual. That just means that it kind of falls outside of the typical parameters that you've set, and it's actually not like a warning or down. We can talk about that a little bit later, but you'll even see that there's a UPS diagram there and the status of that UPS, as well as a feed from a CCTV camera. So it's really limitless as far as like your imagination for these dashboards. We also offer professional services to help with the installation and the customization of PRTG for each individual customer. Network equipment, this is one of our core competencies here at PRTG is network monitoring. So really being able to bring all of this information in from bandwidth, throughput, check for like the availability of your network's performance, any kind of degradations that are out there as well. I would say really what we're looking at a lot of the time is like, making sure we can improve network performance, being able to help you identify bottlenecks, optimize network traffic, and ultimately resulting in a faster and more reliable network. We can also help increase uptime by detecting and diagnosing any issues before they cause downtime, and all of that is through deploying PRTG and monitoring your overall like network infrastructure. And then looking at a dashboard that's specific to the network side, this is where we've kind of created an overview of a network, the dependencies related to it, as well as the status of those different pieces from servers to switches. You can actually see a visual representation of where some of this equipment sits. We do have an alliance partner called UV Networks that does a lot of this great visualization and like config backup. As part of PRTG, they have a great plugin that integrates really well with us, so they do some cool stuff there as well. On the application and services side, just kind of rounding out like some of the areas of focus for telecom would be monitoring some critical enterprise management tools, stuff on the database side, services. We have some cool executive level dashboards. I'll show you one of those here shortly that are specific to being able to see how different services are performing, being able to have a good view of the experience from a web service standpoint, and you can even measure transactions up to 10 steps. And then monitoring cloud-based services such as Office 365, Zoom, AWS, Azure, and then physical, virtual servers as well. And these are some examples of dashboards. This is a pretty Microsoft-specific dashboard for Windows Server, SQL, Exchange. There's some Oracle sprinkled in there as well. But again, it all comes down to what's important to your organization or your customer, and then pulling in all of those different types of sensors. And then this is the service level, kind of like more of an executive level dashboard I mentioned. And you can see the status of all the different services from ERP to website to the online shop and firewall. And this gives someone a good indication of, is everything good and up and running? Is there stuff, that is, kind of borderline? And each of these specific parts of the dashboard, all of the different underlying devices and applications that kind of play into this, all help feed into that specific color. With that being said, that's kind of my portion of the presentation, and I'm going to switch it over here to Miguel.
Thank you. Okay, give me just 1 second. Let me start sharing my screen. Let me know if you see my screen right now. If Jason can confirm.
Yep,
which one are you seeing?
I can see your desktop.
Okay, let me switch over. Sorry about that. There we go. Are you seeing the Chrome?
Yep, we can see the Paessler.com.
Okay, thank you. So Jason, thank you for that introduction. I'm going to start with a demo of PRTG. So first of all, if you haven't already, I always encourage you to go to Paessler.com and download the free trial. You can simply access our website at Paessler.com, and from there you will see the option to download the free trial. So I will click on that, and you will see the different flavors of PRTG that we have. So the first two on top are going to be the on-premises versions. One of them is for up to 10,000 sensors, and for large-scale customers or environments, we will have the enterprise monitor for more than 10,000 sensors. Then we will have here the PRTG hosted monitor, which is our cloud version. And this version will only give you 10 days of a trial. The first one is going to give you an entire month. And the reason behind this is because the hosted instance is going to be hosted in Amazon Web Services. So of course, it's an extra charge for us. So only 10 days you can test it out. But if you feel free, you can always feel free to install any of those. Test it out. If you need any help, you can contact support and we will gladly help you. Okay, so let me go into the architecture of PRTG. So we will have all like a base knowledge on what is needed. So first of all, as soon as you install PRTG, you're going to have two main components. The first one is the local probe. This is the one that is going to be using the different protocols that Jason mentioned, such as ICMP or ping, SNMP, WMI, NetFlow, anything that you can think of is going to be sent by the local probe. And this information is going to be gathered and sent over to the second component, the major component, which is the PRTG core server. This core server is the one that provides with the web interface, the database. Pretty much everything is going to be stored in the core server. And all the visuals are going to come from the core server. Now, if you have remote sites, or if you want to release some of the load on the core server, we have something called the remote probes. Those remote probes are installed in Windows-based environments normally, and it's going to work the same way as the local probe. They're going to start doing the queries using ping, SNMP, WMI, and such, and it's going to collect this data and send it over to the core server in a TLS encrypted connection. We only use a single port for this connection, which is going to be the port 23560, if not mistaken, and again, TLS encrypted. So no worries there. If for some reason this link, the internet link goes down, or you lose connection with the core server, the remote probe is going to store 500,000 scanning intervals, which is definitely a lot. So as soon as this connection is reestablished, we'll start sending everything that is in buffer to the core server. Okay, so you won't lose any data. Perfect. To install PRTG, it's going to take you from, let's say, 10 to 15 minutes, and it's pretty straightforward. We have our very own database in our very own web interface. Okay, and this is it. like normally regardless if you have the hosted or if you have the on-premises version, you will see this web page. And what I want to highlight from here is that you will have on the left side the option to install the PRTG apps, because we not only have the web interface, but we also have iOS and Android. And last but not least, we have the PRTG app for the desktop clients. So you can install this app in Windows and you can monitor the environment instead of having the web interface always open. Okay. Now, PRTG is really visual. So you're gonna see all the colors that Jason mentioned. So you're gonna have the red for down acknowledge in pink, warning in yellow, up green, pause you're gonna be in blue, unusual orange, and unknown are gonna be in gray. Those different colors are gonna tell you how the sensor is behaving or if there's any issue or discrepancy with the sensor. Okay. Also, we will see the amount of maintenance days that we're going to have left and all the sensors that our license allows us to have. For this particular installation, we only have 2,000 sensors, but we still have 7,000 to go. From here, also, I want to show you that you can open up a ticket with support on the lower right-hand corner. You can click on contact support. Even with the trial, we are going to help you. Or of course, if you have an active maintenance contract, we will help you. You don't need to have a ticket, simply leave it blank, and you can add any issues or any questions that you have. You can add them here and even send us logs, okay, which are really useful for troubleshooting purposes. Perfect. So let me go to the device tree. This is normally where we're going to spend most of our time with PRTG. We're currently under the group named root, and this is actually the main group. So everything is inherited from this device. All the credentials, all the settings are going to be inherited. You can break the inheritance at any point in time. When I talk about inheritance, you will see the WMI credentials. So if for example, if I go to settings, I scroll down, and you will see, for example, Windows systems, Linux systems, VMware, SNMP devices. All of that are going to be in here, and I can simply inherit those credentials, or I can break that inheritance at any point in time. Okay. So now, as I mentioned, this is the group root, and we have the two main components: the core server and then the local probe. For this particular installation, we have another remote probe, which is the one that you see on the bottom. Okay. This one has a lot of groups within them and a lot of devices and a lot of sensors. Okay, so let me show you what a sensor is. Let me expand this a little bit more. So those small boxes that you see there with different colors are the sensors. So we have sensors for a lot of different types of protocols. We have, if not mistaken, more than 300 sensors natively. And we also have, of course, the custom sensors, which you can use. So let's start with the simple one, which is the ping. So normally this is just to make sure that the connection is up and running from one device to PRTG, making sure that they're completely active. You will see here also the impact on the core server. And last but not least, the scanning interval. This is scanning interval, which is going to mean that every 30 seconds, we're going to ping the device to make sure that it's up and running. You can play with the intervals at any point in time, and we normally recommend to use 30 seconds. Depending on the impact, we will suggest to use higher scanning intervals. Also, you will have the ID here. Every device, every group, probe, everyone is going to have a unique ID. So if I know I have some impacting sensors, I can simply, if I know the ID, I can simply search it here, and it's going to take me over to that particular sensor. Okay. On the left side, we're going to have the channels. Those channels, or the options that you see here, are pretty much just metrics, but we call them channels. And you can modify those channels as needed. Okay, so for example, if I want to be alerted based on a certain threshold, I can modify these settings and be notified. Okay, and let me go to the settings of the sensor. I can also change the sensor settings. Most of the sensors will have a bunch of configuration that you can use. And this is like, I mean, you can always select what you want from them at any point in time, okay? Perfect. And you will see also the tags. Every sensor is going to have its own tag. I can add other different tags. So let's say this is a data center. I will add a tag there. This is related to a telco. I can also add a tag to the telco, and I can save the changes. So eventually, when I'm looking at my most important sensors or the most impacting sensors, I can simply come in here, look by tag, and say, I don't know, telco stuff. And it's gonna throw me which sensor has that particular tag, and it's gonna be easier for me to filter it down, okay? Cool. So let me get back to the device tree. In here, I wanna show you something related to traffic. So if you wanna monitor traffic with PRTG, you can do it. So let's say you have an like a switch or any traffic that you want to monitor from a particular device, you can do it. You can do it using SNMP protocol, NetFlow, JFlow, SFlow, even WMI for Windows, you can do it. And also the channels that you see in here or the metrics can be adjusted for some of the sensors. For example, this one, you can adjust it to the fact that I can add more channels to it. So for example, if I go to the settings, I can have all of the ones that you see in here listed, and I can simply add, save the changes, and it's gonna display in a bit, okay? Perfect, so let me show you how that looks. There we go. So with a single sensor, you will have a lot of information, a lot of useful information that is gonna tell you whether or not there's something going on with that particular interface or that particular device or anything that you can think of, okay? So you might be thinking, of course, it's going to take me a long time to get to build something like this, where I'm going to have, I don't know, 100 sensors, 200 sensors, or 2,000 sensors. But with PRTG, we have the auto discovery feature. So what that does is the local probe is going to start pinging the different devices that it can reach. So if we can ping them, we're going to try to add SNMP stuff, WMI, NetFlow, depending on what protocol the device handles, we are going to try to connect to that. And I can also run auto discovery using templates, or I can run auto discovery to create a group of only for a subnet or anything like that. I can do it for sure. So let me show you how that looks. So I'll right click on any device, right click, and I will do auto discovery. We already have some predetermined templates that you can use. So you can use the ones that we have, or we also have the Sensor Hub, which is a website that we have customers sending scripts or templates or anything that you can think of, and we share this with our customers as well. So let's say I want to do SNMP stuff. I can do it here. I can simply filter by SNMP, and you will have the generic stuff, right? Or specific to Linux or anything like that. So I can also do WMI for Windows boxes. If I have Cisco, we have Cisco servers, devices, ASAs. Also, if I do, I don't know, if I have 40net devices as well, we have some templates for that. And for a lot of different vendors, we will have integrations with, okay? Also, if I want to do the auto discovery feature with a group, I can right click on the probe or another device, and I will do auto discovery group. What this does is going to allow me to use either a template to do the auto discovery, and also it's going to allow me to list IPs or a subnet or anything that you can, any of the options that you see here to scan IPs. I can do it for sure. So let's say I have IPs such as this. I will simply add the credentials, add the configuration, the templates if I need it, and then the credentials as I mentioned, and click OK. So PRTG is going to ping those devices, and if we can ping them, we're going to try to retrieve a lot of information based on the auto discovery. Okay, perfect. So now let me go to something really important to mention here is as soon as you install it, PRTG is going to start, or as soon as you add a sensor, PRTG is going to start building historic data from that sensor. So for example, on this one, we will have, or on all of the sensors, you will have the live data, 2 days, a year worth of data, and even the historic data, which I can pull at any point in time, and I can create reports on that. So let's say this sensor has been running for more than 30 days. I will be able to pull a report from this, as you see. And based on this historic data, PRTG also determines what the trends on a particular sensor. So on this case, for example, you will see that it's an SNMP traffic sensor, and the traffic in is usually low for this hour of the week. So this might be due to different reasons, but what is important here is with the historic data, PRTG will determine the trends, and you can take action before something happens. This sensor might be going into a down state at some point if we don't handle it, or it might as well be that, I don't know, today's a holiday and we will expect the traffic in to be unusually low for the company, so it might as well be expected. Okay, but at least you'll have notifications in case it goes to an unusual state. Now, what happens if it goes to a down state or warning state or unknown? Am I gonna be notified, and how? Yeah, the idea of having PRTG is that you will get notifications for the different events. So to do that, we use notification triggers, which is this option that you see here. I can create a notification trigger based on state. So let's say if the sensor goes down or unknown or unusual, I want to be notified after 1 minute. I want to notify a group of people. So let's say I would do email to all the members of the group in Active Directory. And then if it stays down for 300 seconds, I would do only the administrator. Once the sensor is back up, I will do administrator as well, email and push notification. So these options that you see here are actually what we call notification templates. And we have at least 15 ways of being notified. So let me show you how that looks. Perfect. So let me access the all notifications template. And you will see here the settings, like if you want to be always notified immediately, never summarize the alerts or anything like that, you can modify the method. Also, we're going to have the options now. So we can send an email to a user or to an end user, to a user group, add an entry to an event log, sending an SMS or pager message, executing an HTTP action like an API key or token or any integration you can do. Executing a program, you can use BAT or PowerShell or .exe or anything that we have as available here. Sending a syslog message, you can do SNMP traps, is also an option. Amazon simple notification. Assigning a ticket, we have our very own ticketing tool, but if you have, I don't know, other integrations such as PagerDuty, OpsGenie, Jira, ServiceNow, you can integrate it with PRTG for sure, because we have seen it in the past and we have documentation for it. Sending a push notification, Microsoft Teams message through a webhook, Slack, webhook as well, MQTT and OPC UA for OT and IoT stuff. Okay, so yeah, definitely a lot of options that we have to be notified. And let me show you another feature that we have here. We have the libraries. So I want to show you the all bandwidth sensors. The libraries are just a different way of grouping sensors together. So for this one, we have, even though they're using different protocols such as SNMP, WMI, and NetFlow, they're all in the same place, which you can do with the libraries. And of course, you can create notifications based on what you need only for those sensors. Okay. Now, let me show you another sensor, which is really nice to see always, is the NetFlow. So if you have Cisco devices and you want to know which ones are the top talkers, top connections, top protocols, or if you want to create your very own top list, you can do it from here. You will have the custom option, and you can select what protocols you want or the source IP, the destination IP, so you can see this in a nicer way. So let's say I want to do top connections. I will see the top connections that we have for our environment or top protocols. I will also see what percentage is being used for this particular device. Okay. And again, top talkers, senders, all of that is a possibility with PRTG. Perfect. If you have a PBX, if you want to monitor the SIP options to make sure that it's active, to make sure that SIP is active, you can also do it. We have different sensors. We have different options that you can use. Okay. So let me go now to the ticketing tool, which I mentioned earlier. I want to show you how the ticket looks. Let's use this one. So for example, if you have PRTG, you're going to receive tickets. If you decide to, you can use our ticketing tool, or as I mentioned, use another one if you have another one. The ticket is going to tell you what the status is, who is it assigned to, and also if what the story of the ticket is, right? In this case, we will have that there's a new version available. This is actually a version from last year. As you see, the first two numbers are from the year, so 22 last year. But what I want to highlight from here is with PRTG, we do updates every month and a half. So at least per year, you're going to have from 6 to 8 updates on our software. Okay, so just to take that into consideration. This includes security improvements and a lot of different information, new sensors, all of that. Okay. Also, we have the reporting option. You can generate reports in a HTML format, PDF, CSV, or anything like that. You can do it as well. And you can filter it down on reports using the tags that I mentioned earlier to make it more easy to manage. You can have graphs, data tables, top 10, top 100 in downtime, uptime are some of the options that you can use. And last but not least, I want to show you the maps. So let me move over to this other environment, and I will show you some of the maps that Jason covered before, but I want to show you here. Okay, first the network map. This is something that you can use, where you're going to have all in a single place, like the UPS, the data centers, virtualization stuff, switches, routers, firewalls, MPLS cloud. If you decide to add also the coordinates to the devices, you will see it here, which is another feature that we have called geolocation. And you can add a map within a map. So you will see something like this. Okay. Now, let me show you another one called the communication tower. Here it is. So this was for a proof of concept that we did. We were monitoring the total energy, intake, outtake, anything that you can think of, even the cameras. The CCTV cameras are there, power and battery, access control, what the status is. And this is not rendering correctly, but let me show you what the CCTV camera looks like. I want to show you an example. This one, as Jason mentioned, our headquarters are located in Nuremberg, Germany. So this is a panoramic camera that we have that we're monitoring. So you will see the entire city of Nuremberg being monitored, which is really cool. So as long as the device allows it to, we will be able to show it and display it something like this. Okay. And if you want to do, like if you have an image of your building as well, and you have some access points or something like that, you can do it as well. And this is an overview of the access points, but if you have different floors, you can create maps within a map. So let me click on this one, for example, the first floor. So you will see the building, the topology of the building, and you will see the sensors added on top for access points. Okay. Also, if you would like to monitor anything that has pretty much anything that has an IP address or a valid protocol, we can monitor it with PRTG. Perfect. I don't know if there are any questions. If there are questions, feel free to send them over on the Q&A section.
Thanks, Miguel. We actually do have a few questions.
Okay.
So I'll just read them off to you. The first one, I think you might have actually answered this question, but I'll read it anyway. It says, can I monitor the SIP options to a SIP server?
Yeah, actually, we do have that option, and I think I answered that earlier, but let me show you. This is the website that I mentioned earlier, the Sensor Hub, where you will have different templates, scripts from different vendors. So let's say I want to know something about, let me look for example, QoS. We have some QoS stuff, voice over IP and telephony. You will see here some options. For example, this one, we have a native sensor for SIP options, and here you will have the manual for it. Same goes for Cisco IP SLA or anything like that, and you will see here the voice over IP monitors services being monitored by PRTG using SIP. Okay. Perfect. Any other question?
Yeah, there's a couple more. The next one, is there any way of monitoring QoS?
It is. It's also an option. We do have the option to monitor. We have some native sensors for it, and I think we have some also other custom sensors. So for example, we have on native sensors, we have the SNMP Cisco CBQoS. It's going to monitor the quality of service. Also, we have the most of the times, the ones that I see being used is the QoS round trip sensor, which is this one. And the reason behind this is because it's going to give you the jitter. It's going to give you if there are any packets corrupted, round trip, packets out of order. So a lot of information is going to be displayed by this particular sensor. So yeah, it is possible.
Okay. And there is just one more question. And to the audience, if you want to submit any other questions, now is a perfect time. The last question is, can I monitor PBX like Cisco Call Manager?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, we have also, and I'm glad that I brought this up before. We have some integrations with Cisco. So if I look for, let's say, vendor specific, we use Cisco, and I can scroll a little bit down. So you will see device templates that you can use to add sensors to it more easily. Those are going to provide you with a link, and this link is going to allow you to download the device template. And within that device template, there's a step-by-step, really nice to see and really easy to deploy to get this monitored by Cisco Call Manager or any of the ones that you see here, like Cisco Switch Stack, Wireless LAN Controller. All of them are here, and we also have some scripts on our side for, let's say, BGP peer status, ASAs from third parties, BGP neighbors, EIGRP, ASAs, and such. So this is actually a really good page. I will share that before I end the session.
Okay, great. You know what? No more questions came in, so I think you've covered everything. Thank you, Jason and Miguel, both of you, for presenting today. Thank you for all of our attendees.
Yeah, thank you so much, Elaine, for having us. If anyone has any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to your WinCom person or reach out to me directly.
Great. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.